How do you build a $2 trillion empire? Well, for one guy, it all started with a simple idea typed out in the passenger seat of a car. Today, we're going to unpack the story of Amazon. And this is a company that didn't just change how you shop, it literally reshaped the entire modern world. So yeah, let's get into it. So to really wrap your head around the scale here, let's just start with this one number, $1.2 million. That's how much money Amazon rakes in every single minute. I mean, it's a number so big, it's almost impossible to even picture, right? But what's really insane is when you find out where it all started. Yep, right there. The whole blueprint for this global juggernaut was just typed out on a laptop way back in 1994 in a beat-up car. That insane contrast, between that humble start and the empire we see today, that's really the heart of this whole story. All right, Section 1, an idea at 65 miles per hour, the spark of an empire. So to really get the idea, you first got to understand the man behind it. Jeff Bezos, well, that wasn't even his birth name. He was adopted by a stepfather, a Cuban immigrant, Miguel Bezos. And from the very beginning, Jeff was just different. Get this, for his high school valedictorian speech, he wasn't talking about hopes and dreams like everybody else. Nope. He was laying out his plan to build space hotels and amusement parks in orbit. Seriously. So after he goes and gets these degrees from Princeton, you'd think his path is all set for a nice, comfortable, super smart career. But then, he saw one number. A number that would change absolutely everything. 2,300%. This one statistic, this is the spark for everything that comes next. He's working as a senior VP at a Wall Street hedge fund, right? And he stumbles across this number. The internet was growing by 2,300% a year. He didn't just see a trend. Now he saw a tidal wave, and he just knew he had to figure out how to ride it. Okay, so you've got this new frontier, the internet. What do you sell? Bezos, being Bezos, makes a list. 20 different potential businesses. And the winner? He chose books. Now why books? Well, it was a completely logical, almost cold calculation. There are millions of different titles out there, way more than any physical store could ever hope to stock. And they're all basically the same shape and size. So here's the key thing to get. Books were never the end goal. They were just the perfect gateway drug to get into e-commerce. And the company was almost called something completely different. His first choice was Cadabra, like abracadabra. Kind of cool, right? Well, his lawyer misheard it as cadaver. Yeah, not a great look for a new company. So scratch that. His next idea was Relentless. And you can actually go to relentless.com right now, and guess where it takes you? Straight to Amazon. That name really tells you everything you need to know about the company's DNA. But in the end, he landed on Amazon. Why? Well, it starts with an A, so it would be at the top of any alphabetical list. And of course, it was named after the world's biggest river, a pretty on-the-nose symbol for his plan to build the world's biggest store. All right, next up, from garage to empire, forged in the dot-com crash. So, with a name and a plan, he did the classic startup thing. He founded the company in a garage. And the funding? It came from his parents, who literally poured their life savings into his crazy idea. And it was right there, in that garage, that the core ideas of what Amazon would become really started to take shape. And nothing shows this better than the famous door desk. I mean, look at this thing. It's a simple door bolted to some 2x4s. This wasn't just some quirky startup thing to look cool. It was a symbol, a powerful one. Every single dollar they didn't spend on fancy furniture was a dollar they could put back into growing the business, lowering prices for you, and making the experience better. Frugality wasn't just a principle, it was a weapon. And this was their mantra: get big fast. The strategy couldn't have been simpler or more brutal. Speed and scale were everything. Perfection? Forget about it. The goal was market domination. You got to imagine, in those early days, they were basically building the plane while it was already in the air. All because they believed that on the internet, the first one to get there would win everything. Wall Street? Oh, they did not get it. Not at all. When Amazon went public in 1997, it was losing a ton of money. So you have all these analysts, right? They're just looking at the quarterly numbers, and they see a company that's just burning through cash. One of them even wrote a headline calling it Amazon Toast. But Bezos kept telling investors, look, ignore the short-term profits. We're playing a long game here. We're focused on long-term dominance. It was a huge gamble, one that would eventually pay off in a massive way, but not before the company almost died.
Then came March of 2000. The dot-com bubble burst, and the market turned on tech stocks with an absolute vengeance. Amazon's stock price, it just collapsed. It went from over $100 a share all the way down to $6. The headlines now were screaming Amazon bomb. Bankruptcy didn't just seem possible, it felt inevitable. The party was officially over.
This right here, this was Amazon's crucible. This was the moment that should have killed the company, but it didn't. Instead, it forged it into something completely new. Bezos didn't panic. He got cold, surgical. He started slashing costs, streamlining everything. And while pretty much all of their .com competitors just disappeared, Amazon survived. And the company that came out the other side, it was tougher, way more disciplined, and in the end, much, much more dangerous.
Okay, so Section 3, the everything stores weapons, building the arsenal of dominance. So after surviving the crash, Amazon didn't just lick its wounds. It went on the attack. It started building out the strategic weapons that would let it not just compete, but completely dominate entire industries.
And this arsenal was built piece by piece. First up, the marketplace in 2000. Now this seemed insane at the time. Why would you invite your competitors to sell on your own website? Simple, for the data. Then came Amazon Prime in 2005, the Kindle in 2007 to totally disrupt publishing, and then the real secret weapon, AWS in 2006. Every single one of these was just a brilliant move.
Let's just talk about Prime for a second, because this is genius. All of Amazon's competitors thought offering unlimited 2-day shipping for a flat fee was financial suicide. They were going to lose so much money. But Bezos understood something much deeper. Prime was never about shipping. It was a loyalty program. Think about it. Once you pay that annual fee, you feel like you have to get your money's worth, right? So you stop looking at other sites. You just go straight to Amazon. You buy more, and you buy it faster. It's not a customer perk. It's a perfectly engineered psychological trap.
And then there's AWS, Amazon Web Services. This might be the single most brilliant business move of this century, and it almost happened by accident. See, Amazon had to build this massive, world-class computer system just to run its own website. And then someone had the bright idea, hey, what if we rented out our extra capacity to other companies? Today, AWS powers a huge chunk of the entire internet. We're talking Netflix, NASA, even the CIA. Their own competitors, like Netflix, are literally paying them rent to exist. It's incredible. They built the store, and then they turned around and became the landlord for the entire digital neighborhood. But all this relentless growth, this absolute dominance, it came with a price. And as Amazon grew from a company into an empire, it started to attract the kind of heat that all empires eventually do.
This famous quote from Bezos pretty much became their unofficial mantra. Your margin is my opportunity. Just think about that. It was a direct threat to every other retailer out there. It was basically saying, we will run on thinner profits than you, we will be more efficient than you, and we will take your customers. And the list of retail giants that just couldn't compete is long. Borders, Toys R Us, Circuit City, they're all testament to just how ruthless that strategy was. And the criticisms just kept piling up. You had third-party sellers on their own marketplace saying Amazon was using their sales data to launch its own competing products. Then reports started coming out about the grueling conditions inside the warehouses, where workers were being tracked by technology that some people started calling the wristbands of Sauron. All of this eventually led to Bezos himself having to testify before Congress in 2020 to face down antitrust allegations. The empire was finally being challenged. And then, right when the pressure was at its absolute highest, the architect of this whole thing did something nobody saw coming. He walked away. Just look at this contrast. The transformation of Bezos himself is honestly just as staggering as the company's. On the one hand, you've got the awkward tech nerd from 1995 with that goofy laugh, and on the other, the 2021 version, who some people were calling the final boss of capitalism. He went from the nerdy guy in the garage to someone who looked like he could literally bend reality to his will. He had finished building his machine, and now he was ready for whatever was next.
So in 2021, he steps down as CEO of Amazon. But this was not a retirement, not even close. He turned all of his attention to his real, lifelong passion, space. His rocket company, Blue Origin, became his main focus, and that's when it all became clear. For Bezos, Amazon was never the magnum opus. It was the launch pad. It was the giant money-making engine he had to build to fund his actual dream.
Because this story is far from over. That same kid who gave a high school speech about building hotels in orbit, he now has the resources to actually try and do it. Think about the journey. He used a bookstore to build an everything store. Then he used the everything store to build a launch pad to the stars. So the real question we're left with is, what's the next chapter he's going to write for all of us?